Chapter 6. A Good Predator. Russell saw the movement in the leaves. He grabbed Mari's hand and took off, trying to get as far from the jaguar cub as possible. He knew that the cub would be the mother's first concern. "Meet at the boat!" Sage's voice seemed to fade as she and Dev ran down the path. Russell and Mari forged deeper into the forest. They ran until they had to stop, Russell's shallow breath burning in the back of his throat. "I can't believe we saw a jaguar. They're incredibly endangered and very private animals." While Mari was marveling about their good fortune, Russell was thinking that their fortune was not so good at all. Looking around, he realized how foolish they had been. They had run without thinking, without noting landmarks. "I still hear something," Russell said. The rainforest was always full of sound, but this was the sound of a large group of animals. Leaves rustling, twigs breaking. "Come on," he said, grabbing Mari's hand again. He jogged, skirting fallen branches. He stopped. "I still hear it." That's when he saw the tree. Its top branches opened like a giant green umbrella in the sky, nearly 200 feet high. But Russell was interested in the tree's base. He pulled Mari toward it. Many leg-like roots sprouted from the trunk, making the tree look like a sea monster rising from the wet earth. Russell didn't care. He had seen a gap between the gnarled roots. Ducking down, he tried not to think of the hundreds of species that would call a dark hollow like this home. He pulled off his backpack and slid through the opening. It was dark, and the damp air smelled rich. "A good predator could sniff us out in here," Mari insisted. Russell brought his finger to his lips. "A good predator wouldn't break twigs," he whispered, telling us it was close. He knew Mari understood. He had thought it was a jaguar following them at first, too, but jaguars were too clever to be detected. Russell knelt down, hidden by the shadows, and listened. Beyond the soft scurrying and odd dripping sounds under the tree, he could hear something else. There were voices coming closer. "Where'd they go?" Russell recognized that voice at once. It was Gabe. "I don't know. It says they should be here," Dallas replied. Even in the darkness, Russell could see Mari's eyes grow wide as she realized it was the green team. Maybe it's broken. Maybe Russell's team didn't come this way at all. Russell tried to peek out, but he couldn't see anything. What was Dallas looking at? It was working before. It doesn't matter. Russell doesn't know where he's going, or maybe he lost his backpack. We have to get back to the river. Maybe our guide can give us a hint. That was Jaden. No one responded to him. They just took off, heading back the way they came. "What was all that about?" Mari asked, as she and Russell squeezed their way out in the open. "I can't say," Russell answered. "You heard the same thing. It sounded like they followed us." "But why?" Mari wondered. Russell shook his head as he brushed ants off his legs. Even though he had a sneaking suspicion as to how his friends had found them, he really couldn't say. Not unless he wanted to get them kicked out of the race for good. For now, he decided to focus on his own team. "We've got to move," Russell insisted. But Mari was facing in the opposite direction. She shifted her backpack and buckled it at her chest before she turned around. "We came from that way, didn't we?" Mari asked, pointing. There was doubt in her voice. "I don't think so," Russell said, noticing tracks on the ground. "It looks like the green team went this way." Without another word, they set off at a jog. Russell quickly lost the green team's path. Mari was not fast, but she was steady. It gave Russell time to try to pick the best route. It was hard to tell if they were headed in the right direction. He led Mari downhill, hoping the slope would lead to the river. only to find that the land pitched uphill again. "Wait," Mari said after a while, coming to a full stop. "Nothing looks familiar." She had turned back and was facing the opposite direction again. To Russell, this part of the forest looked pretty much like all the others. Moss everywhere, endless trees, emerald leaves overhead, dead leaves on the ground. Russell would never admit it, but he was certain they were lost. Endangered species and habitat. Many species in the Amazon rainforest are endangered. Endangered is a term for an animal that could become extinct in the near future. An animal becomes extinct when there are no longer any of its kind alive. These are some of the Amazonian animals that are endangered: black spider monkey, golden lion tamarin monkey, great green macaw, Amazonian glass frog. Many other animals, including both predators and prey, are on the verge of being endangered. They are considered near threatened or vulnerable. Some of these include harpy eagle, jaguar, maned wolf, lowland tapir. The greatest threat to these animals is the loss of habitat. Since the 1960s, the lush forest has been replaced by farms, ranches, and roads. The loss of rainforest habitat is a tremendous threat to animals, plants, and humans alike.